Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and doing a little bit something different today. I know we were supposed to have a guest on today, Chris. He is unfortunately sick, so we're going to tackle that in the new year. Feel better, Chris. And we're going to do a midday show here. I might be doing more of these in the new year. Kind of like the view it gives me. Give me some feedback if you think it works better for you all. If, folks can tune in on lunch and whatnot instead of at 4:15ish. But let's get right into it. 12:45 p.m. is the exact halftime of the U.S. East Coast markets here, so it's a pretty good stop, pretty good point and place to step back after the euro close, and a lot of the noise from the morning is gone. Speaking of which, a low volume day here. We'll get to SPY in a second, but today all about totally, again, sounds like a broken record, the metals. Programming, I will be back on January 12th. So this is going to be my last video for a bit. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everybody. And I was looking forward to the new year. I'll be back on the 12th, maybe like the Friday before, but no guarantees. We'll be doing some flying and such. All right, today, gold, small caps. Wow, that Russell. And biotech continues to pop. Gold to new all-time highs. Biotech new 52-week highs, and volatility goes pop, and so does nat gas. Those two, VXX and nat gas, new all-time lows on both. So pretty astounding. New all-time lows here in December 2025 for the volatility ETF and natural gas. And here we go. New all-time highs for silver, financials, the gold miners, the gold metal itself, the copper miners, and Canada. Canada continues to churn, not a very high average true range ETF, but is absolutely participating in this commodities boom. All right, let us get to the dashboard panel and get in. Let me just show some things here. It's been an interesting day as always. Volume has lightened up. You're looking at let me see here. SPY is at 28 million shares. That is very low. We're on pace for about 60 million or so shares. We're averaging about 80, but of course, like we said, this is the volume suck this week going into Christmas. Tesla, another big day here, 3%. This one just keeps going on new all-time highs now after really doing some hard work basing this year. S&P we'll get to in a little bit. Up 0.2%. Nvidia up 1%, still under that 190 mark. They're not pouring into Nvidia and tech just yet. Q's is still kind of lagging to me. It's will be the catch-up trade because they're pouring into the others like Russell. Micron, a massive up 3%, up to all-time highs, I believe that name. IBM we'll look at up 1.5%. Gold up 2.25%. Monster over $400 here now, 408. The GLD. Oracle up 3%. You'll love to see that. Broadcom, they're kind of keeping flat, up 25 bips, as you can see here. But Oracle, a big day, up 3%. You'll like to see that back up 18% on the year. Silver up a monster 2%. They can't ignore this trade. All right, let us zoom out. As I said, very thin day. Look at this stand out right there. Overbought since 4 a.m. In the SPY, and really, when the bell rang, 9:30 here, holding VWAP up. Actual volume takes place. Good bit of the buying happened in the morning, and honestly, that's when the volume pretty much started going away. I anticipate probably more buying at 3:30 on the market and bounce on close, but they've been revving it all day, and we just hit highs at 12:30, just less than 30 minutes ago, at 685. Your VWAP is 684. As long as that holds, we could see a close of 686, maybe even a 687 today. As I zoom out, because this would be my last update for a little bit, until I get back there in early mid-Jan. So things look great here. As you remember what I said on the video on Friday, I wasn't sure if they were done sending it lower and we were going to rally. The point is we're going to be tethered to that 679 is what I've been seeing. And here's the thing, it doesn't say tethered moments. It's almost like an object set in motion will, remain in motion. Basically, you were tethered to that 679, 680 mark is right here where my cursor is for since December 16th, about 6 days. And you see this steady uptrend here, and boom, what happens above 50 RSI? Momentum shifts either way. And even more doubly so above 50 RSI when you're in that uptrend. So again, think about it. The lines are getting longer in a very hot caliber asset. And that's what's happening here. That happened above the 679 breakout. So things look good. The NASDAQ still a little bit, I don't want to say concerning, but it's definitely a catch-up trade and not doing super. But I think all things look solid for this, and I'm still anticipating here about 698 on the S&P on SPY. So that'll be a new all-time high, getting past the October 29th levels of 690. I'm rounding. I do think we get above that by about 1%. And the date for me on or around that we get there is about Jan 7th. So right around there. So it probably does it before. Things sometimes happen a lot faster than you expect. But I do expect us to go higher here. And that's about it. Again, the drawdown or the clawback here for S&Ps, I have it beginning on December 11th on through around the 26th. That's why I wasn't sure if this week was going to be super bullish, but the volume is so thin, it's just going to probably melt up slowly, probably a little bit slower than anticipated. So again, the 11th, I believe, is when we peaked. Market trying to go higher again, and it finally could not get above 689, and then it sent it lower. It seems as now, with the benefit of hindsight, we bottomed here 5 days ago at that ugly 671 level, far rubber band far too stretched from that 21-day exponential moving average 679 in a rising environment. And that was probably the give that we got a little bit too far below our skis on that bearish engulfing candle on the 17th. And you see what's happening now. So again, I do anticipate us to be on or around 697 or about 2% higher from here in about 2 weeks. So I think, like I told you, we're going to get into the hood here of some individual assets, but we were talking before about, being bearish. A lot of the charts look the same, wait for them to come in, et cetera. And now we're getting it across the globe, as you'll see, some really decent setups, I think. So yes, we're going to look at the metals because that's the rage of the morning, but we will capture some beta as well, looking at IWM and some different market exposure things. But again, just going back on the SPY chart, I'm getting a breakthrough here. And I mean, the name of the video was the breakthrough of the bull market no one's talking about. And I think finally, I don't think we're going to get the double top. I think you're finally going to get a nice move here. I'm seeing all-time lows printed in VXX, EUFN all-time highs. Sure, a little bit concerning that gold and silver absolutely ripping. Not really a great backdrop. You want them buying, S&P, and it's not Apple racing right here, and Microsoft, right? So that's the backdrop that you have to conflict with and juxtapose in your head. Okay, so let us get into it. But like I said, I'm expecting 2% higher in the S&P by about January 7th, 8th, 9th. Ooh, I just hit myself with my hoodie. By the end of that week, but I have my January 7th for my target date. All right, they are gobbling. Let's get into it. Gold, GLD, these are only multiple sigma movers of the morning, and gold up 2.2%. These are live right now charting. That carrot denotes a new all-time high. We have gotten above that October 20th high. Remember, that's when gold had a Dustin Hoffman, Michael Jordan-like run for 6 weeks here, and then it had that high. I anticipate something like this happening in the S&P. Obviously, they're not exactly correlated, but look at this. Double top for gold. Oh, no, it's going to be over. And look what happens. That price then the high was 403. Look at this right here, 408. View up on the day, 407. Very impressive trading for gold. 2025 has belonged to gold and the metals. Great looking chart. I know it's probably going to go higher in the short term. It looks like the candle can't quit here. They just want to take it higher and higher. Just in terms of risk management, a good entry is around 390. I'm not so sure you're going to get it at the level of the prior breakout, but I do foresee other opportunities happening in different spaces of the market. So we'll get into it. But right here, just a beautiful breakaway. If you were getting gold on, 11 days ago on the 11th, you could have done that too. Just different bases also entering this overbought experience. Overbought registration right here, 399 on the way up to 408. But personally, I don't want to chase this here. My upper target using the Bollinger Bands, kind of like a Chaikin cloud cover, if you will, is 405. So I don't want to chase it here. It might go a little bit higher, but then I expect a little bit of a drag, possibly when the S&P really starts soaring and you get 1% of that up 2% anticipated move, then I foresee a potential breakdown of this going down to about the 392 level. And that absolutely is your invitation to get long going to 2026. Almost a little bit anecdotal. I was at a party this weekend and someone asked me, oh, do you think it's time to allocate to gold, et cetera? So whenever that happens, it's sometimes like a near-term top. You'd be surprised. But again, also, this has had one red day since December 9th. So this is just, I don't want to chase it up here. But gold, they are chasing it up here to new all-time highs, up 2.25%. Next, I don't want to sell calls on it, obviously, just because of how rapid it's rising. But I don't think this is going to grow to the sky here. But it's not worth it for me to sell the 415 calls going out a week, especially with this overbought measure of 78. They're buying now and asking questions later. Similar dealing with this asset, IWM, the small caps up 1.5%. That's a monster move. Their highs came back 10 days ago at 258, 254 on the Russell. Yeah, this looks good. Like I said, similar to what goes for S&P. I'm not sure if they take it down one more time, but this looks like it's set. The level for this was under 249. You've really wanted to get in. And again, it's been tussling with that for about the month of December. I would say for about the last 2.5 weeks, giving and getting from that level. Small cap still over 50 RSI, essentially bid to me since Thanksgiving week. Love to see that. And this is headed to 259, in my opinion. So it'll be new highs by $1. But again, trees don't go to the sky. This just dripped from 248. And yes, this has monster thrusts today, up 1.5%. But I think this is going to hit its ceiling right around that 259 to 260 level, about $6 away in Russell. But it's going to have a nice bullish 2 weeks. Again, so gold, what the chart's telling me, a little bit extended. I don't think they're going to continue to absolutely press the foot on the gas for gold, although I've been proven wrong on this one. It's 78 RSI, all-time highs. Who am I to argue? But we're trying to deal with probabilities. Something's up 7 days out of 8. I'm not going to sure it's going to roll the same dice for the next 7 momentum or not. Next is the small caps. This will enjoy a bullish 2 weeks with a head hitting on the ceiling of right around 260 is where my target is. Or like I said, $6, about 3-ish% upside from Russell, approximately from here. And the next one, I am long this and enjoying the gains of this today. Biotech up to, it was 2.7 last I checked, up 2.5 here. New 52-week highs, not all-time highs. So folks love the catch-up trade. The all-time highs come from this rejection back here in 2021 during those horrendous COVID days. This actually tagged 150. It seemed outside of reason because 155 was a more normal level. If you see, this is a monthly candle. So that's where the overhead lies. But I think we're getting there. This chart has been absolutely on fire. No two ways around it since mid-August. I'll defend it on several different claims in September and so on, just strengthening. But this thing has been absolutely on fire. This, similar to what I said for the Russell, I am enjoying the gains here. I do have an order to exit with a profit on my my biotech long. I'm not so sure if it happens today or tomorrow. I'm holding out for just slightly higher from here. But the XBI, so my target on this is 128 bullish for the next 2 weeks. So it's crazy. Yeah, I am foreseeing more percent upside, let's say, for the Russell. We just forecasted, 3% versus this just literally $2 from here, or about 2%. It's done a little already. It's a 52-week high. I don't love the divergence here with not even getting to a 67 RSI on that hurdle higher. To me, what's likely to happen is it zigs and zags. It may have a drop to 121 and then continue to go higher. But for me, the ceiling for this short term is about 128. This is stupefied before. Maybe you can stretch to 130 just because it's, the bands have gotten a little bit smaller and it can make a larger move off of that. Obviously, strong trend higher, 200-day moving average here back at 93. But for me, I don't think this one marches much more north of 130 tops in the next 2 weeks. And that is why I have a sell order for here. And also, I'm up on it. And profit is better than no profit. All right, let's go to the losers. And there's only 2 today that they are hammering. And they're the 2 all-time lows that we spoke of. Volatility, VXX. Look at that little carrot. Oh, my goodness. New all-time lows on VXX, oversold for the first time since September when we were on our way, if you recall, to new all-time highs in the S&P. Then it tagged, so 2702 is the all-time low. It's 5 cents above it right here, right now. VXX, I had told you before, it's very interesting. We've been forecasting with that December 11th, right, S&P short-term peak. VXX was cleanly valued at $30 that day. I said this should get a dead cat bounce. I'm checking my notes. Should get a dead cat bounce to about 32. And my goodness gracious, this thing just fell out of bed throughout. The next day I got to 31, then 30, and literally slinky going lower from there. So this looks ugly. I don't think the bottom absolutely falls out. Like, I'm not calling for, to me, I have like a 26 handle for the next 2 weeks, but this for me will bleed lower. So you want to be, a net seller of options for the next 2 weeks as you enter more of a, tranquility phase into the markets. But and that should be an exclamation point on it. New all-time lows on VXX. That's how in my head I use this intermarket analysis. Yes, not just gold reaching all-time highs, but you got to be the weight of the evidence kind of person, and it's XLF. It's Canada. I know that seems crazy, but it's different parts of the market. It's European financials. It's Peru. So this, that helps to me when I see VXX and the volatility on the short term, ETN hitting, new lows and oversold. We're going to go higher. It's a matter of time, depending on the basket that you're in. All right, so that's all-time lows for VXX. As I said, I think the floor will be about 26, but they're selling this, asking questions later as we get under 30 RSI oversold, as it's happened several times this year since July. Again, volatility, I won't argue, we were in a different phase, and we'll close the book on this for VXX. You were in a different phase, and that has to do with the tariffs from March 3rd, and I'll be honest, all the way till about June 24th. That was when we were in a hyper scared environment, and that corroborated right here with the SPY 52-week lows was when VXX hit 91. Heavy resistance here at 45. Yes, it's always, I say it 100 times, difficult to chart a non-time series vehicle like VXX, but I do take things from it. And then you had mini scares in mid-October, regionals driven, and then the week before Thanksgiving, and that's it. I will say one other thing. We were above 50 RSI from October 9th through November 23rd. I will say that was like an addendum, see a bullet of rising volatility, even though it was decaying here, as you can see in the chart, but it was still above 50 RSI. Markets didn't take off to the upside during that period for one of that reason. All right, so I already talked about that floor of about 26, but it's going low over the next 2 weeks as markets go higher. Next, nat gas down 5% today, last I checked, doing a little bit better, down 4.2, a all-time low on VXX, and boy, technical analysis, congrats whoever, it wasn't me, sold UNG on December 5th. I was a wait and see person to see if this stabilized. I liked what I was seeing, and then boom, not only has this gone under the 200 moving average, that's still going lower. This hasn't been above 50 RSI since today. All-time low, although I'm not even getting below a 33 RSI. I think this is almost done bleeding out. We had talked about this. Let me check my notes because I like seeing how charts work on something not correlated like a nat gas. After we got to Chembate, after that ugly, almost comical-like candle, someone paid 17 that day. VWAP that day was 16.5, and then just plunged lower. On the 200-day, if you want to have a real, sense of gravitas, was 15.75. Right then, it said December 8th, once it hadn't going to be working to the upside, including a spot in your portfolio. I said, for sure, a visit to 14 is warranted, likely 13. And here we are, literally all-time lows at 11 handle. I think the low, to be precise, is 11.48. I think this is going to base this week. I am curious if they gobbled us up with beta, as I see the S&P and Russell and even NASDAQ accumulating gains this week. I'm curious if they gobble up nat gas too, or they leave it in its drawdown. Either way, I think it is going to have a dead cat bounce over the next 2, maybe a frustrating 3 weeks to about this 13.5 area. And then that will be further digging along for natural gas, maybe even as high, I don't think so, to 14 to fill in that gap when it had that ugly down 8% day on December 11th. But nat gas, new all-time lows today, not above a 50 RSI since December 8th. Not much we can see, not much else you can say, but I do think this is going to get to $13 over the next 2-3 weeks. Nat gas, new all-time low. All right, let's keep moving here as we do our last show for about 2-ish weeks and change. Top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. That is today, plus the minus 4 days. Wow, need a lot of Python to do that one. Top gainer, I didn't want to turn this into the metal show, as I usually say, because they're commanding all the spotlight. Number 1 leader of the past 5 days, and it's to a new all-time high today. It's the junior, talk about risk derivative here, junior silver miner. So not only are you playing silver, not only are you playing equities, you're playing the junior silver miners. That's really, talk about search for yield and growth. That's all you're talking about there. This group really hadn't done a ton until this breakout here above $13, and then boom, a 2x from there. New all-time highs today. Today it's up basically 4%. This is one of the big leaders, of course, if not the leader year over year. So I think it's going to enjoy a bullish 2 weeks. But again, this has done a lot in a little. It just broke out from this 26.5 area. 26.5 to 29.5 is $3. That's greater than 10%. Even for a high volatile asset like this, that's a lot of growth. But who am I to call out a superstar? This has been overbought from end of August through mid-October, so it can do it. And now it's overbought again. 74 RSI. They're asking, they're buying now, asking questions later. For me, full target is 29 even. And then, had a great gap up today. I think it has, like I said, a bullish 2 weeks. It probably does some zigs and zags, maybe a little bit higher. They rejected it today. It hit 30.05, and then they sent it lower. See how it closes at the end of the day. But I think, if we're seeing something like that, maybe it goes 30, and then 28, 29, so on and so forth. But I do see a bullish 2 weeks with about a 29 target with where we are. So if that makes sense, basically give back and continuation. But it's up 9% over the past 5 days. Just a monster, robust, almost 2% a day. It's doing 4% today. Lets me know it's probably not done yet. But I will look for it to rest essentially about 26. If you're 27, if you're able to snag an entry there, I don't think it's going to happen. If you're able, buy at the money calls, buy the stock itself, SILJ. You can go out and buy a silver miner itself. That would be your invitation, because it's a good discount for a good upside. I think they'll go into other things, though, in the meantime. All right, number 2, but that's been the crusher this week. Up 9%, nothing better than that one right there, the junior silver miners. Congrats if you're in it. Number 2, uranium up 5% or 1% a day, doing just that today, an average day for the past week. But uranium on a tear, up 5%, your second best after you get away from the correlated trades of, gold itself, silver itself, etc. Gold miners, gold junior miners. I had to get away from all that. Uranium, a little bit more of an interesting chart. Silver miners were just up and to the right to today's new all-time highs. Uranium peaked on October 15th at 60.5, and has been dealing with a tough time. We thought we were going to get a breakout here, but it got really dikembe'd at 49.5 and ascended all the way hard, a rejection down to about 43, and here we are at 46. It is up today. It's had a very nice 5 days from 43 to 46. This has a little bit of, so let me put my cursor here. This has resistance here, to me, short-term Stark, if that makes sense, at 48. I'm not sure if it has the velocity to get through. It almost looks like London Bridges here. I'm not sure right here at the bottom part of this chasm, if you will. I'm not so sure it has what it takes to get 42 to 48, a $6 gain and breakout. And then if you get through that, the resistance at 49.5 is absolutely immense. It hasn't been above it since November. So, make it make sense, John. Bullish 2 weeks. It's got to get that super important. And you see what it tried today at 47.25, and then they sent it all the way low. I mean, it did touch 47.25 today, and then they got, I'm going to say it again, dikembe, finger wag. I think it has a bullish 2 weeks. It's got to get above that 48. I'm not super convinced it can. And then if it does, I think it's going to get to 50. And then that's it. This resistance will hold. It has not been above 50 since November 5th. And that's just, steep 6 week resistance for me. And even if it does get above 50 RSI, it hasn't really showed the conviction that can really build upon it like it has here just 2 weeks after its 52-week high. So interesting for uranium. Don't love to trade those in terms of it basically already had a very good week. Plus, you could sell at 50 calls. It might give you a scare. But I don't think it's going to happen. This also is a more volatile stock, and it's also had the second best week of any ETF. It could be an opportunity. I'm not really entering positions here, but if you're, you don't care that the calendar is changing and all that, this looks like it has a little bit more to go. You could buy the breakout, but to me, there's a good amount of risk associated. And otherwise, on the downside, you're not going to make much money on it. I would want to sell, like the 41 puts, but you're not going to make it paid. So really, more so review here, uranium. Congrats if you're in it, 5% in the past week. And then look at this, the third best performer in the past week, Bitcoin. Through the BITO ETF, up 4%. And my gosh, the chart looks absolutely horrendous. This is BITO, not even near a 50 RSI. And they have been just easily, cleanly using that. It only happened once in the past 2 months for BITO, and they said, that's easy, let's sell it. Today, up 1.5% is BITO. It's up 4% in the past week. Don't love, I know a lot of huffing puffing. Don't love this chart for like another week or so. It's given me, I don't know. This isn't even under 50 RSI where they say, sell and then ask questions later. This is under 45 RSI. Just don't love the strength in it. Yes, it's had a great week, right, since bouncing off of that 12.5, but just personally don't love this. I think this could possibly even head to about 12. I hate to say this, but this could head, this BITO chart, I'll look at IBIT in a second. This looks like it could head to 12.25. What's the low here? 12.40. So not that low. The chart, let me look at IBIT. This looks not good to me, just where it is. I don't like to say that because I'm long IBIT. Let's look at IBIT right now live. And kind of the same chart. So two things stand out to me, and they're both not really good, to be honest. In terms of just the cycles, this looks like to me it might have another week in the box. Again, the cleaner chart and proxy for Bitcoin. This peaked on October 6th at basically $72. And boom, the resistance here is at 58.71. This is just flatline too, by the way. The 200-day is not going up. It's not going down. It is flat at 58.70. And it's basically been there since Thanksgiving, which is crazy. Meaning that view is being cemented, almost essentially the same idea of say, oh, no one wants to own this above a 50 RSI. That was done the week of the all-time high, unfortunately. So the thing that stands out to me here is this looks like it could possibly visit $48, maybe not as aggressive as, the BITO chart interpretation, maybe just because of the overall weakness. But this looks like to me they are going to use $51 as an out, and it just touched $51. I'm looking at this ugly doji on the day, and then possibly want to send it to a low, just a boring chart. Maybe send this to about $47, base it there, and then send it to about $51 again, and then sell it, if that makes sense. And it should, because they just did it. 48 to 51. I don't really love this chart. I don't think IBIT is going to be the way to do. If it gets above 50 RSI, and then things can possibly change. But this looks heavy in different time frames on the chart. So don't love it. But congrats, BITO, the third best week of any ETF. All right, let's pick this up. Top 3 losers of the past 5 days. We had called it out already. VXX, the worst week of any ETF today, plus the other 4 days, down 8.5% or an average. Even though it was slightly less than 1% today, it's grinding into it, down 2.5%. We already went through the forecast, so not going to go through that. But I do think this, gets to about 26 or so over the next 2 weeks. It's going lower. And then after that, ensuing rallies will probably take it to about 30 even, a 10-ish% pop. And it's just a fading, asset. So, option sellers have been making the money. All right. This has been the worst ETF performer of the past 5 days. Number 2, and this is not straight volatility, it's Brazil. Down 8%, almost the same as volatility. We were talking about this. Today it's down 1%, so you don't like to see that. But you do want international exposure, as it's been the key to 2025. And Brazil had been on absolute nonstop fire until December 4th, and now it's really hit its head. But, just doing simple, it's a little bit different because of volatility and the way it fell out of bed. But I have the 5th for a peak, basically day after. Do 15 days. Cycle work takes you about the 20th. I do think it found the bottom on or around that 20th. I think that floor of 30 will hold, but you want to see if it's going to test it more. Today's an ugly candle, and respect the low from the 17th at 30.70. I really do. Today's is 30.80, the low, but it's happening right now as we speak live. So this will base this week, and then I do think they will send it to about 32 even. There's a little bit of traffic here in this area, so maybe not the best trade, although you can make money on call spreads. So wait for this to get a little bit more constructive. And I do think it's headed to about 32.40, right around there. I think it has a bullish 2 weeks. Wait for it to finish here, and then it'll send there. Probably buy the at-the-money calls, marches, or you can just straight buy the EWZ stock. But it's had a nasty week. And number 3, also from an international play, Japan, down 5%, almost an average of 1% a day. Today, not really super reversing its fortunes, but down 17 bips. It's not 1%. Like I said, down 5%. Almost similar to the fallout they had to Brazil, right? So look at this highs, just exactly 11 days later. Highs for Japan, $85, and then boom, the next day down 5%. And now it's reeling, but look at the beautiful support. It almost reminds me of the 6,500 support in SPY. It's pretty decent support, even better if you get down here, obviously. Down at 78, we're talking $80 today. So this has been a great looking chart, especially since late April. It's just been absolutely zooming. You can count almost the sessions it's spent under 50 RSI. Unfortunately, you're in that handful right here. Forecast for EWJ, again, some parts of the globe look different from others. I think this, I'm not so sure it's out of the penalty box. I think this wants to descend possibly towards about $80, even maybe even 79 half. And then it should start heading higher to about 82 to 82 half. And I don't think a ton more from there. I'm not really going out on a limb and calling for all-time highs. Just due on the path dependency of it visit, right, from 80 to 82. And again, this average true range is an 84. So it doesn't move a ton, basically a % round trip in a day, essentially. So I think there's almost crash out at the 50 RSI, which would equate with the $82 for a bullish, 2-week run. All right. As we're getting ready to sign off here, top 3 trades of the past 5 days. If you were long Silver Miner Juniors, you know who you are. Short VXX and short EWZ. They're the 3 absolute best trades on the board going into December 22nd. We've highlighted, what we're going to forecast here for SPY going forward. We will be back at the end of that second week of January, just January 9th or 12th, something like that. Thank you for joining us. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Peace.